books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is the founder and CEO of Plausible, no other than Miss Leanne Linsky. Welcome to Book 101, Miss Leanne. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
So I am Leanne Linsky. I'm the founder and CEO of Plausible. Plausible is a live online comedy platform. We're like your one stop shop for live comedy that you can watch online with an online audience.
Yes. So, Miss Leanne, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world and, of course, plausible to the world. So, what inspired you to pursue a comedy as a career?
Well, it kind of happened in an unexpected way, I suppose, because I grew up in a very funny family. So it's kind of a requirement to be funny to keep up with my brothers and my parents. And
Yes.
then I pursued uh, a business degree in college and worked for a Fortune 500 company. But during that time that I worked there, I did a lot of public speaking and I always wanted to incorporate humor into it. So back in 2001, I took my very first comedy writing class and I loved it. And I was just, I immersed myself into comedy classes and performing and everything ever since. And so, like 5 years of taking classes and performing on nights and weekends with friends. Why I lived in Las Vegas at the time, although that's not where I'm from. I'm from the Chicago area, Illinois. And so, 5 years after taking my first class, I ended up during that time, I was suddenly laid off of my job, which I had been at for nearly 13 years. So it was unexpected. And I was like, huh. And my friend was like, hey, I'm moving to New York. Do you want to share a sublet with me? And I was like, I'll have to think about it. He was like, you have 1 hour. And so a few minutes later, I called back and I said, all right, I'm in. And I packed 2 suitcases and moved to New York and pursued everything comedy to learn as much as I possibly could about it.
So, do you think being comedian is in your DNA?
Yes. Yeah, I have very funny family.
For sure, totally agree. So, what are the first steps someone should take if they want to start doing a comedy?
I think the first thing to do, I mean, there's many ways to go about it. For me, it was to take a class. And I would say start somewhere because one class is not going to be the last class. I am a constant learner. I love learning from different people, different perspectives. So you can start with taking a class. Another way to do it is go to an open mic.
Yes, like
Writes down what you think is
plausible.
funny, go and try it. Experience, classes, all of those things, doing, learn by doing. Some people learn by writing, some people, but all of it, no matter which route you take, the key to it is getting feedback. Is it funny or is it not funny? Who's your audience? What is it all about? And it's just and for me it evolved over time because what I originally thought was funny from my family and stuff, changed over time to like really well written jokes, not making sure you don't there's like street jokes which people tell like in bars that are passed down for I don't know through people. Like I don't tell anybody else's jokes. I tell my jokes. So it evolves over time and then giving your like for newcomers to give yourself permission to experiment.
So, it's naturally for you to be a comedian.
I think yes and no. I think certain aspects of it can come more natural to some people more so than other people. Some people might be really good writers, but maybe their comedic timing or delivery of a joke isn't good. And then some people have a very natural delivery and have that sense of timing naturally that kind of is instinctive. But
Yes,
I think it can be learned and practiced.
true. Plus your talent, and it goes together. So,
Hmm.
you'll be a phenomenal comedian. So, how do you find inspiration or material for your jokes?
Pain,
Hmm.
tragedy, things that
I didn't think.
failure. Um, they say that tragedy plus time equals comedy. That's
Yes.
kind of a formula in a lot of ways. I write what I know. So for me, my comedy tends to be about things that I've experienced and then trying to take a different perspective or outlook of it and finding the funny in it.
So how is it important is timing in comedy, and how can someone improve it?
Ooh, I believe timing is very important.
Important, yes.
Yeah, it's like music. Music has a rhythm or a melody or a beat, right? And we can
Yes.
kind of feel that in a good song. It's catchy. And I think with well-written jokes or well-delivered jokes, there's this there's this timing that kind of can make or break something, make or break your punchline. So I think it's really vital to the delivery of a good joke. A joke can be very well written,
Yes.
but to have that punch,
Delivery.
yeah, timing is everything.
Awesome. So what's the best way to handle nerves before performing on the stage?
Drinking, no, uh, there's different ways I think for different people. Some people have little rituals or they'll wear the same pair of socks or shirt. Some people I know wear the same shirt every time they perform. Um, for me, I like to have a little bit of nervousness. Nerves tells me that's the respect I pay my audience. It matters to me. So I
Yes.
kind of welcome a bit of that. The best thing for me is to know my set inside and out because then I'm not searching for, oh my goodness, what comes next or having to look at notes or something, but to know my material well enough um, gives me some peace that I can go on stage. And although the nerves can still be there, I'm prepared. I'm prepared. And so now the only unknowns is what may happen in the audience or things that are external to me. But the more I'm prepared on my end that I've taken all of the and done all of the things required of me to do my job is done, for me that brings me some calm and peace, and the nerves that are left over are just from external what ifs.
So Miss Leanne, as a founder and CEO of Plausible, what are your vision and mission?
Well, to rule the world and every so,
Likewise.
right? I mean, come on.
Yes.
So, yeah, actually to retire, no, my vision though with comedy, initially it was performing as much as possible, and that's kind of what led me to creating Plausible, is because like I had mentioned, I moved to New York, and I stayed in New York for about almost 9 years. And then I eventually moved to the West Coast, and I ended up in California, in Los Angeles County, which I was in Long Beach, which when I was moving there, my friend's like, "Oh, we'll live in Long Beach. You can get in and out of LA easily." No, you can't. I can't even get to Trader Joe's easily. It's like you go 1 mile and I need to pack snacks and a cooler of water. Um, so I suddenly found myself spending more time on the freeway than I was on stage. And I'm like, this is bananas. I want to get stage time so I can continue working out new material and doing stuff. And even if I, you know, find some things local to Long Beach, I still need to connect and meet people and build my network on the West Coast. And that requires driving to LA and driving an hour and a half, 2 hours uh, for 5 minutes is a lot of gas, a lot of money, and a lot of time. So how do I bridge that gap? And so that I moved from New York to LA back at the end of 2014, beginning of 2015. And I was like, what if I go online and use Skype or Zoom or, because I was using that for my day job at the time. I'm like, so why not incorporate that? And then life got lifey. Fast forward to August of 2019, BC, before COVID. And I was like, I'm just going to go for it and I'm going to put some mics on Zoom. And so I did. And people were like, hey, this is cool because I was introducing East Coasters to West Coasters and
Yes.
people who were traveling can book gigs off one another and stuff. Well, then the pandemic happened and everybody went online. And I was like, hey, this is great. But I'm using meeting software, which is great for my business meetings with Bob from
Yes.
accounting or people at work. And it's great for an open mic here and there. But it really then suddenly we had these new problems because it wasn't designed for live entertainment online.
Yes.
So I was like, what if I created something and I could help lots of people who have the same problems, of like maybe even people like in middle America where they live in a town, but there's not comedy clubs everywhere and they have to drive to a major city to do it. And like 40% of the mics in the US are in California and New York. So, what about everybody else? So, I went back to school and got my master's degree in innovation and entrepreneurship and learned how I could take my idea to scale and build a business around it so that I could help other people. And that's what I did. So, once I graduated, I hired a team and I drew up what my vision was and what comedians needed. And we built Plausible and launched it live on the internet in December of 22. And we've been live ever since.
Miss Leanne Linsky,
Yeah.
congratulations! Thank you so much for sharing plausible to the world.
Thanks.
So, after 5 years, what do you think plausible will be?
So, in 5 years, what I'd like to see is continued growth and comedians recognizing a couple of things. So, here's three things. One, online comedy doesn't is not meant to replace in-person comedy. I think there's a just more opportunity. It just creates additional opportunity for everybody. And two, it gives control to comedians to um, take over their own career. Because comedians, as you go into comedy, you find you do a lot of things for free or exposure, which now that's what OnlyFans is for, right? So,
Exposure, true.
yeah, go to OnlyFans for exposure. Comedy is for performance, and people want to perform and they want to be valued as a performer. And so on Plausible, comedians get their scheduling tools, the ticketing services, the live video stage, all the things they need, and they can set their own prices, invite their fans, and perform as often and as long as they want to on Plausible. And they set their own price, put your own value. You can collaborate with other comics on there. Other you can host another comics host open mics. But so like if you're interested in getting into comedy, what a great place to meet people from all over the world is go and attend an open mic. And
Definitely.
or a bunch of them ideally, and there's classes on there, and so people can go on and create their own account and proceed as they wish. They don't have to ask me permission.
Yes. Worldwide,
Yeah.
people. So, as the founder and CEO of Plausible, what will be your short term and long term goals?
Yeah. So short term, I'm currently promoting plausible what we are currently offering, right? And I
Yes.
give shout outs to all of our comedians on there in our weekly newsletter and stuff. So if they're promoting, then plausible promotes. So in short term, I'm focused on filling those virtual seats and seeing the growth happen there. Long term, in 5 years, like what you were saying before, I would like to see international shows and open mics happening way more often. Right now, I think uh, we have some friends to our north in Canada who are doing some events on there, and they have in the past and attending events. I'd like to see more of that. Um, let's
Yes.
not keep it just here, but let's have everybody join in. I think we can learn a lot from each other. So that's the bigger goal is internationally have that kind of growth and activity on the platform.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Leanne. So, what would be advice for those people out there who want to be part on Plausible?
How to be part?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Or what will
So
be your advice to them?
Go
to
to
be part.
plausible.com and create your free account. Like
Yeah.
it costs you nothing. I would say,
Is there
this
any
goes
requirements?
no, there's no
No.
requirements. Kind of like your first question about how to get started.
Yes.
Uh, like taking a class or that, get started, go to plausible.com, create your free account as a comedian or a fan and attend an event. And that's
Yes.
like step 1. That's so easy. You don't even have to put your shoes on. You don't have to drive anywhere. Like so low level, no barrier.
Yes. No barriers, people. Just to be a, what do you call that? Be a comedian? Is that number one rule to be a comedian and plausible?
The
Miss
number one
Leanne?
rule, be
Yes.
funny.
For sure, be funny.
Yeah.
So, Miss Leanne, can you recommend a book that empower you as a comedian?
Absolutely. So one of my favorite books is The Comic Toolbox. Look at that. You
Mm.
can see I have like there's actually some pages falling out. I've looked at it so much. This book has been I've had this book, I think, I've had it for over 20 years. So I'm not gonna
Wow.
lie. Yeah, maybe 20 years. I'd have to look. I've had it a very long time, and it's come in handy because it talks about the truth in comedy. There's actually a book called The Truth in Comedy, which is also excellent. But it like their first chapter, comedy is truth and pain, which we
Yes.
talked about. There's different ways to write jokes, and that's what I there's different approaches and different takes on it, and that's what I like about this is in each chapter, and there it gives you um, examples, great examples, and also exercises to practice. And I actually use many of these techniques to this day.
So, Miss Leanne, are you planning to write a book like that too in the future?
Uh, yeah, I know. Okay, so I've always wanted to write a book. I don't know
Please,
if it would be like this, but I definitely would like to write a book.
I encourage you because you will empower people out there want to be a comedian
Thank you.
from the point of view. So, Ms. Leanne, how long does it typically take to become a comfortable performing comedy in front of an audience?
Depends on the size of the ego, I guess.
Oh my goodness. True.
I mean, it can vary from person to person for sure. I do notice that when people come in and they're new, just an generalized observation. When people come in and they're new, they're excited, enthusiastic, they want to soak up as much knowledge as they can. And then fast forward to maybe 2 or more years in, and I think that's where you really see confidence in people.
Yes.
And again, this goes to the size of your ego. Is it confidence or is it cockiness? I'm not sure, but you can have a mixture of both. But then I think then there comes a point where it kind of plateaus a bit because it's like, well, what's next? I've done these things, I'm doing these things, and now I'm challenged again. So I kind of view it as like going to the gym, right? Where
Yes.
it's a new year, I got a membership, I'm all gung ho and excited, and I show up all the time, right? And I
Yes.
start seeing some changes, and then all of a sudden I feel pretty confident in myself and I plateau.
Mm.
Now I got to change it up again. What do I got to do different? Do I need more classes? Do I need new collaborators? What do I need? And so I don't think for most people, I don't think it's like a rocket ship, a hockey stick in the flow chart of where all of a sudden they have success. Maybe, um, I'm not going to say never. It can happen, but more often than not, I think it comes in spurts and ebbs and flows. It's a journey. It's definitely a journey, and then and it and I remember a very successful comedian who's in movies and things like that. I don't like to name drop, but I remember when I first started, I heard this person say it takes 10 years or more before you start seeing really significant successes, like bigger successes in your bookings. And I would even venture to say now, maybe it's longer. And the reason
Yes.
that I say that is I think because now it's saturated. There's way more people going into comedy than ever
Yes.
before because there's all these new open doors through social media, through YouTube, through, all these things, and it's kind of been cracked open. And also, it used to be way back in the day only what, 3 major TV channels, and now we had cable, which all of a sudden you have
A lot.
200 channels, and now we have all the streaming services.
Platforms.
So it's very saturated. So I think it kind of ebbs and flows. It depends on how committed you are. I think a lot of times we see people's successes, but we don't see all the hard work that they put into it. And that can be misleading for newbies of thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna get there quick." I
Yes.
hope you do. I hope you do. But in reality, it's a journey.
Yes. You need hard work, consistency.
Yeah, I mean, and you gotta be able to pick yourself up when you fall down, because in comedy, you know, you're gonna bomb on stage. You are going to stink up a stage. You're not gonna get laughs, and then sometimes you will, and sometimes you but it's not oh, you're not gonna be successful all the time. That's just not
Yes.
how comedy works. Yeah.
Yes. You need to learn from your mistake too, right?
Yeah, and be willing to make them.
Yes. Most of the people are afraid to commit mistake. I don't know why.
I don't know, I make them every day.
Yes. Likewise. So can you describe your personal process for writing comedy material?
Yeah, so currently it's very here or there, but, to give you a really good example, when I was writing my one-person show, and I was living in New York, I would get up in the morning and go to the gym, work out, have breakfast, get ready, and then treat it like a job,
Yes.
right? With a schedule. Like, I would show up, I would be at a coffee shop at 9 AM, and then I would work through to lunch. And so in that time, what did I do? Write. I'd give myself permission to write stream of consciousness for like 3 pages and then see what comes out of that. And then that time I was working on a show. So if I was working on a certain piece of the show, I would focus on only that. And I would give myself a lot of time to write stream of conscious around whatever that was in my show. And then I would have different days that I would edit it because there's different parts of the brain, right? There's this creative part where I got to let all of the creative ideas come out and not judge them. Just let it all come out, all of the ideas, all the things. But editing is a different muscle. And that's when I can go back and I can go through it and cross things out and change words and rearrange things on the paper. And so I would kind of separate my type of writing out. And even now, I still do that. So although I don't do it the same time of day anymore because I'm not in the process of writing a show, but if I write jokes, I give myself permission to fully write out all of my ideas around this premise, right? And I could
Yes.
fill up easily 3 or more pages, and then um, and then what I do is I can sometimes make lists. Like if I'm stuck, okay, I have all these things. I want to make a joke. And the example I like to use is I'm right. I like to write about relationships, right? So what are relationships like? And I will compare them to something. And I'll just make a list of like 10 random things that have nothing to do with relationships, like cars, shoes, travel, or whatever. And then I start writing general things about each one of those topics. And then I try to find the connection between relationships and shoes, right?
You're right.
And then I'm like, relationships are like shoes. Okay, what kind of shoe? Right. And so then I start playing. And so I pare it down. And the example I'm thinking of, my final joke is flip flops are what I consider to be the booty call of shoes. They're easy, they're convenient, but they're never there for you in the long run. So,
Awesome, Miss Leanne. I like it. Awesome. Very well said. Yay. So, what's your approach to dealing with controversial or sensitive topics?
So I typically stay away from politics. It's just not my thing. Like sometimes, a lot of times, I don't know. Comedy is tragedy plus time equals comedy, and sometimes it's
Yes.
just too soon. So I stay away from those things. But I do apply the too soon rule. So if there are current events, because um, recently I was experimenting with some joke writing around current events, and I wrote some things and I was like, "Wow, hey, I'm kinda liking these jokes," but I have to consider who is my audience and the time that has lapsed between it. How tragic is it for this audience or this situation? What is it? Have people lost their lives? Might wait a while,
Mm.
is it someone just made a boo-boo type mistake and, I can probably talk about it very quickly, right? So depending on what it is, I kind of evaluate that risk and and I look at what's my point of view. So I guess you know, comedy is also very provocative and edgy. There's a tension and release. Comedy takes us to that moment of like, and then like, oh, okay, thank gosh, you went somewhere else with it. What a nice surprise. Or, oh, I didn't think of it that way. New perspective, like this twist, an unexpected twist that releases this tension. So I kind of look at how well written is my joke and then the time that has lapsed between what level of comedy is how I measure it.
So, Miss Leanne, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Comedy 101, in its first
Yeah.
season. First season, I hope Miss Leanne will be part on Comedy 101 soon. I know you're busy, busy. Please do visit Comedy 101 with Mr. Bob Lemon. Please do listen to our latest episode. Mr. Bob Lemon is teaching me how to be a comedian. Ah, I hope I will learn from it. So, Miss Leanne, what one piece of advice again to give to anyone who wants to become a great comedian?
One piece of advice: create your free account at plausible.com and join an open mic. Yeah.
Yay! Totally agree. Let's give a big, big hand to Miss Leanne for giving us plausible, available 24/7 worldwide. So please do support Miss Leanne Linsky, CEO and founder of Plausible, because we believe laughter is the best medicine. So, Miss Leanne, can you please invite our listeners to support Plausible?
Yes, please come to Plausible.
Yes, please now.
Or as Bob, our friend the cat, would say, right meow.
Meow, meow, yes. Bob the cat. So, Miss Leanne, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Modicom people, see you soon. So, Miss Leanne, will you be my guest on Comedy 101, please?
Yes,